Welcome, everyone, to the Tethys Shipyards. I am Takeshi Yamato, the Yardmaster, joining our host, the Housecoat Gamer.
Yo.
We return to War's ships today for one of the biggest ones yet.
This actually has to be done. I'm sorry. Just, I know some of you are no Take's probably not going to be hearing it, but that would be the whole
I'm hearing it.
I mean, seriously, it's the It had to be done.
Yeah. The Executor-Class Star Dreadnought, sometimes called a Super Star Destroyer.
For obvious reasons. I mean, just look at the bloody thing. How big is this thing?
19 kilometers long.
The story of the Executor is somewhat well known and somewhat thorny. However, we're going to stick with the most consistent one. Construction was started at Fondor before being moved to Kuat, and before the ship was made fully operational, and, well, she was given over to Darth Vader as his personal command vessel. In theory, this vessel should be an indestructible monster, armed with enough guns to reduce a planet to slag in a matter of days, far faster than any IST, which could do it in about a week. Of course, compare that to a Constitution-class starship, which can do it in a matter of hours.
Yeah.
Don't blame me. I'm just reading the book. Okay?
Yeah. And, of course, indestructible or not, there are still vulnerabilities, as shown by the Battle of Endor, when some fighters took out those domes on the top and took out the topside deflectors, which allowed a humble A-Wing, after receiving battle damage, to run right through the bridge.
Intensify forward firepower. Too late! I am people late! Of course, the Executor lost control because that's where the majority of the navigational systems are, and, well, before the auxiliary bridge could kick in,
the Death Star,
gravity.
Yeah, the Death Star 2's gravitational pull had taken hold of the ship.
Of course, the Executor is only the prototype of her class. There are numerous other vessels, such as Executor 2, otherwise known as Lusancia.
Yes. This one is a fairly interesting... The story behind this one that I've heard is fairly interesting. Because Fondor built the original Lusancia, the higher-ups at Kuat, feeling jealous, built... Executor was built at Fondor. The higher-ups at Kuat, feeling jealous, basically built an exact copy, right down to every single last rivet. But this second Executor was renamed Lusancia and was basically buried under Coruscant, which had to have been a massive undertaking.
There's actually a pretty good fan animation, fan film that basically involves the ship's escape from Coruscant.
Yes.
Credit
it was
due.
Yeah. The Lusankya was basically meant to serve as a personal escape vehicle for the Emperor should Coruscant ever be overrun. And, well, he never used it. Director Hussein Isard certainly did.
The differences between Lusankya and the Executor are, well, minor. There's more point defense systems, probably a lesson that was taken up from Endor for obvious reasons.
Yes. And then there's two other Executor class Star Dreadnoughts that I know of, and maybe more beyond that.
Well,
The two
he's most likely thinking of Nighthammer and Reaper.
no. No, I was thinking Iron Fist and one that was in construction called Razor's Kiss.
Yeah, that would be the Razor. Both of those were used by Warlord Zinj, who basically was the most powerful warlord outside of, well, anyone else
Yeah.
during the early days of the New Republic. He was the only one to actually get two of these bloody things.
Yeah. Even if in the sixth book, even if during during X-Wing book 6, the second one got blown to hell, basically. And not only that, they took the. And not only that, what they did. And not only that, afterwards, Warlord Zinj basically had them scoop up all the debris to serve as basically a failsafe measure. If it ever looked like the Iron Fist was about to be, if it ever looked like he was about to lose a fight and lose the Iron Fist, like he was at the end of Book 7, the shrapnel was contained in a ship called Second Death, with prototype for with prototypes for the planetary night cloak technology, and would be used to fake the Iron Fist's destruction so that the ship could slip away.
There are a couple of other vessels. I will be endeavoring to try and name them all. There are about 20 of the bloody things. Annihilator, which was destroyed during the Battle of Kuat. You'll probably know this from Star Wars Empire at War, Forces of Corruption, the campaign. Brawl, of course, Zinja's ship. The Nighthammer, which was actually equipped with a stealth field generator, allowing it to, well, cloak itself.
Huh.
The Intimidator, which was renamed Pride of Yelvania by the Duskan League. Sorry, I'm just trying to get all the names right. Lusankya, of course, would later serve in New Republic service alongside SSD Guardian, which was another Executor-Class Star Destroyer that was left in orbit of a planet in pretty bad shape.
Right.
In short, these ships are extremely powerful but extremely unwieldy. More useful as command vessels than outright combatants, though their firepower is exceptional.
Yeah. They're meant as the cornerstone pieces of a combat fleet. Everything else, the center of the fleet that everything else is positioned around, and they boast considerable firepower, but they are also very sluggish.
Indeed. Of course, when we get to statting this, we will allow these things to be customizable to a point. Of course, the baseline will remain basically Executor. Though, if you want to put a cloaking device on one of these things and turn it into Night Hammer, go nuts.
Yeah.
Extra point defenses for Luzankia, have fun.
Yep.
Now,
Speaking of, let's get to the stats. So, entered service date. This is going to be a tricky one. Because in a few instances, we've seen this thing show up before Yavin. But its main initial appearance was Empire Strikes Back.
Well, this is where we look at our good friend, the Wiki. According to the Wiki, the ship was finished shortly after the Battle of Endor. Well, shortly before the Battle of Yavin, and entered service just after.
So, 0 BB, so 1 ABY?
0 BBY, 0 Y. Let's be fair there.
Yeah, 0 BBY. Alright. We're counting this as a scale 11 starship. And with the baseline, and we're basically giving this thing 53 system points to, 54. Let's see, 1, 2, 5, 8, 5 plus 8, 13, 53 points to work with. I used the Praetor 2 document as our baseline, and so that gives us comms 11, computers 10, engines 8, sensors 10, structure 13, weapons 11. The Praetor 2 had only a 10 in weapons. I bumped that up because, well, this thing has a lot of guns.
Somehow not enough guns.
Yeah. Any adjustments you want to make?
Other than making this thing so freaking difficult to kill. Let's be honest, the only reason that fighter got even close to the bridge was its lack of point defenses. If you're going to be going up against this thing in a conventional warship, you're going to have a hard time. Even a Trek vessel will have a hard time coming up against this thing.
Yeah. Alright. Department modifiers. The Praetor 2 had 2 points in command, 1 point in engineering. I'm thinking keeping the points in command because, well, command vessel, but swapping the point from engineering into security.
Due to the amount of guns it has. Indeed.
Yeah. Speaking of guns, in terms of weapons, the Executor has the same weapons layout as the Praetor, at least so far. Heavy turbo lasers, medium turbo lasers, light turbo lasers, ion cannons, laser cannons, proton torpedoes, concussion missiles, strength 10 tractor beam.
I see no reason to change this. This thing is supposed to be the par excellence vessel.
Yeah. So this thing basically has every single weapon system we know of for wars. Aside from maybe one, but we'll get to that later. Anyway, for talents, the Executor has room for 11. And we're currently starting with the baseline with what the Praetor had originally. A blade of armor, 2 instances of advanced shields, command ship, fire base, which is normally a star-based talent, and 2 instances of secondary reactors.
I don't see any reason to change any of that. Remember, this thing is bigger. A lot
Ye-
bigger.
Yeah. Let's see. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We could add some extensive hangar bays.
It's definitely going to need that. At least 3 of them.
All right. So
Which will leave
that'll
enough room for anyone else to put in point defense system, cloaking
it'll
devices.
it'll leave enough room for a mission profile talent, basically.
And leave enough room to customize these things into, well,
Yeah.
the other ships of the line.
Yeah. You can. Yeah. The blade of armor, 2 advanced shields, command ship, 3 hangar bays, fire base, 2 secondary reactors. That's 10. We got room for 1 more, so profile talent. And if you need to, you can swap something out. Special rules are same as every other warship. FTL propulsion system, hyperdrive, and deflector screens.
This thing is evil.
Yeah.
In fact, there are probably only a few select vessels that could probably take this thing on and come out, well, battered, victorious.
Yep. And for descriptor traits, we have Imperial Starship and New Republic Starship.
Emblem of the Empire. I mean, seriously, do I really need to point out the Executor?
Yeah, fair enough. Emblem of the Empire.
And I'm not joking about how many, about the number of Star Trek ships that could actually take this thing on and come out, well, not exactly unscarred. They'd actually survive. Those being ships like the Missouri, the Yamato, the Kalis Bat'leth, the Imperial Hawk / King Condor, the Galaxy, and Sovereign. The only ship that would actually be more threatening to this thing is the Odyssey-class.
And that's because it's the freaking Audi!
If it seems like I'm praising this thing a little too much, because I'm a Trekkie, and since I've done the math, this thing should really not be as threatening, think about it. This thing is 12 times the size of an ISD. It is armed accordingly. Don't you think that something that would, have 12 times the armament of an ISD be equally as threatening to something like, say, a Galaxy-class starship?
Yeah.
So I'm going to treat this with the respect it deserves.
Agreed.
Regardless, this is only the first SSD. Bye-bye.
Yep.